Welcome, everyone. Before we start the council meeting, we will have a prayer by Councilman Hensley, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, along with a moment of silence for Mr. Bob Watson.
Thank you. Tonight we are saddened by the sudden passing of a good neighbor and a local legend. We remember the life and legacy of Mr. Bob Watson. His contributions to the residents of Jefferson City and the state of Missouri through his tireless expert reporting are immeasurable. We will all miss him and the dedicated, gentlemanly way in which he practiced his craft and led by example. And now let's all please observe a moment of silence. Thank you. We also mourn the lives lost and shattered by the recent heinous, cowardly attacks in Gilroy, California, El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. And we stand with the survivors and the friends of the loved ones of those murdered as they grieve and seek answers and justice. And we pray that we may live in a world where no one need fear violence or loss of life due to nothing more than the color of their skin, the place of their birth, or the language they speak. For an immediate end to the toxic hatred and rage inspiring so many of these attacks, for the fortitude and decency to do more than think and pray, and that we may all truly understand what it means to love our neighbors as ourselves. And for the unspoken prayers and intentions of those gathered here tonight, we say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now call the Monday, August 5th, 2019 City Council meeting to order. And roll call, please.
Fitzwater.
Present.
Graham.
Here.
Hensley.
Present.
Hussey.
Here.
Kenna.
Here.
Mahalovich.
Here.
Prather.
Here.
Schreiber.
Present.
Ward. Here. Wiseman.
Before we move forward, I did want to mention Mr. Bob Watson, who was a longtime reporter for the News Tribune. I know we have some council members that would like to say a few words, and thank you for that honor and moment of silence, Councilman Hensley. I'd like to call on Councilman Schreiber.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I first met Bob Watson, my wife and I did, in our involvement in criminal justice back in the 1970s when he would come to the courthouse with a reel-to-reel tape recorder. I could describe Bob best as being straightforward, articulate, ethical, witty. He had a great wit, very much a fact checker, and a walking encyclopedia. I would describe Bob probably best as being an old-style Walter Cronkite type journalist. And he was a friend, and he was a friend for almost 40 years, and he will certainly be missed by many of us in this room and people throughout the community. So we ask the best for Bob's family. We send our condolences, and we shall never forget Bob Watson. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Schreiber. I know we echo those thoughts, and I feel like I'll still see him inside the walls of City Hall or walking down the walls of the Capitol or just walking down the streets of downtown Jefferson City. And although I know that we won't see him there any longer, that the lasting impact that he's had on all those places will be felt, and we certainly appreciate and will miss him dearly. Any other council comments at this time? Item 3, adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4, we have a miscellaneous agenda item A. We're going to recognize Jefferson City High School graduate Devin Robertson, the national discus champion, and Jefferson City High School track and field head coach, Mr. Melvin Myers. So we welcome them up to the podium here. We're very honored to have them here tonight at the City Council meeting so that we can take a moment to recognize this accomplishments. And we would like to, on behalf of the City of Jefferson, we want to officially congratulate you for being a national champion. So we're happy to welcome you here tonight. We're very proud of you, and to have you both here is an honor. So I'd like to turn it over and tell us a little bit about this championship.
Well, Devin has been a special one. I mean, he's been with us I've known him for a while now, and he had a wonderful year this year. And then he went on and finished it off with the national championship. Why don't you tell him a little bit about what you did up there at the Great and Southwest?
Well, I think to start off, how I went to New Balance, it was after the state meet. I had a really good state meet, and they had invited me to a few events, and one of them was New Balance. So for a thrower standpoint, New Balance is a really good meet to go to because all the top throwers in the nation go there. So I wanted to go and compete, and my goal was to win it, obviously. So that happened, which I'm really grateful for. And I just think that it was a really good experience. So.
We're very proud of you. Do you continue to move forward with your discus, or what are your future plans?
Yeah, I'm going to Missouri University to continue my track and field career. I'm actually moving in Saturday, so it's cool.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, good luck with everything at University of Missouri. They're very lucky to have you. We're very thankful to have you still here close to Jefferson City and having you here in Missouri, and we wish you all the best, and we're very, very proud to have you here as a national champion. So would council like to add any comments? Great. Well, MIZ! We're very proud of you, and I know you have, do you have a guest with you this evening? Well, we know it's very important to have the support of Mom, so we're glad to have you. And if you would both like to come forward, we'd love to have a picture with you, so come on up, and then we'll have council. And if Mom would like to come up also for a picture, you're welcome to.
Congratulations, Coach.
Aaron Prather, Aaron,
what happened? She's right outside. No, Gary didn't know, but I'm good.
we're good this time.
We're good this time.
For a minute.
All right, yeah. I know you're good at football too. Right. I can that happen. They thrown us on the offensive line.
Well, we look forward to following Devin's career, and very, very honored and very proud. So congratulations again. Thank you. And item B, we have a recognition for Mr. Ken Harland, the administrative minister and the leadership team of Capital West Christian Church, for the use of the event center to use by those impacted by the tornado and flooding. So we'd like to welcome you to the podium. You also have Mrs. Ann Bax with you. If you'd both like to come forward, we'd love to recognize you this evening. And as we know, it's been quite a rough 2 months here for the city of Jefferson, and the role of Capital West Christian Church. We are so fortunate and blessed that we have that sort of a facility here that just happened to be available during the time that we needed it. And thanks to your generosity and your congregation, you were allowed Jefferson City to use that. So we just want to recognize that. And if you want to tell us a little about how that came about or anything you'd like to share.
Sure. I just want to say on behalf of Capital West, thank you for the recognition. We did not do it for recognition, but it's been a pleasure to partner with the city and with United Way, with Bill Farr, with the Adventist Community Services to do all of this. And it all started with our contact with the Adventist community people. They came and said, would this work for us to use your facility? And it happened to be a time frame that we could do that, and so it's been our pleasure to do that. Thank you.
Well, we're very, very fortunate. In fact, not all communities have the blessing to have that sort of a facility available, and it's not that easy to find that sort of large space that's set up as a warehouse space for those items. So We're very, very thankful to have Capital West and what you've done for the community. I know that's something I learned. We work closely with Adventists, and that was something we learned, that often the price tag is very large for a community or for the state to take on something like that. And that did not happen in this case because of your generosity and just being so giving to the community. So we thank you for that. And we also have Ann Bax here from United Way, and maybe you could share a little bit about what's going on with the future of the distribution and how that's going right now in our community.
Sure. Before Ken gets away, I have to say, and Ken personally was involved in the day-to-day operations, and we couldn't have done the work without Ken. He was instrumental, so I want to personally thank him for his efforts as well. And again, to your point, what they their donation was just an incredible gift to this community, so we're very proud of that. And so now, as we're moving from response to recovery and rebuilding, the people coming into the center it was going to be less and less. We were seeing people coming in, and the church needed their event center back. So now we have taken all of those response type items, be it personal care items and safety, the cleanup items, the safety items, and those type of things have gone out to 4 points of distribution, and that's Building Community Bridges, One in Christ Baptist Church, Salvation Army, and Quinn Chapel. And all of those organizations were already helping to distribute items. They're really in the impact area, and so the event center got cleaned out, all those items went out, and so individuals can still go get those items there. And so now they're still letting us use their warehouse for the bigger durable goods, mattresses, TVs, furniture, things that people will receive after they have gone through the FEMA process, and then the case management process that Catholic Charities is leading. So we're all working together to go through the case management, and then if an individual is found to need some of those items, then we will get those from that distribution site. We are looking for a warehouse to move from the event center, so if anyone has knowledge of, we need about 30,000 square feet, but warehouse space is in short supply right now, so if anyone has knowledge, please let us know. But again, they're working with us on that. But we've received about over $700,000 in donated goods from community members and outside the community already, so we've been very blessed.
Well, that is wonderful. We appreciate the work that's been done together with all of these wonderful community organizations, and now people know what the four that you mentioned that are serving as sort of the small distribution centers now, and we appreciate that, and I'm sure we'll find, hopefully with the help of the community, another warehouse type space. Is there any questions or comments of council while we have you all here? Well, Mr. Harlan, please pass on to all of the volunteers. There were several there working countless hours in your congregation, and just everybody, how thankful we are for that. And if you would both like to come forward, we'll get a picture together and share that. Thank you all. We are a fortunate community, that is for sure. All right, item 5, we have no public hearings, no appointments on item 6. Item 7, presentations from staff, consultants, and invited guests. We have item A, we're going to announce Redemption Inside the Walls, and we have some special guests here this evening that are going to tell us about that. So I'd like to invite you forward. We have Mr. Kirk DeMars here, and Mrs. Paula Benny this evening that are going to tell us a little bit about this. So this event is coming up this Saturday night, and
17th.
Next Saturday.
oh, I'm sorry. This Saturday is the Lincoln University. I'm getting my, okay, this Saturday's, let me announce that. Lincoln's Casino Night is this Saturday, sorry. Paula said, whoa, I'm not quite ready.
We still got
Next
stuff to do.
Saturday, the 17th, next Saturday, is this Redemption Inside the Walls at the fairgrounds. So I would like to have you announce this tonight. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you for having us. And this event is the first one that we're putting on, and we originally were going to be inside the prison walls, but that all got changed. So, as everybody else did, we had to do a lot of shuffling. And so it's going to be out at the Jefferson City J.C.'s Fairgrounds. Started out as Redemption Inside the Walls, but we've changed it since then to Stronger After the Storm. So just kind of the theme this year, we're going to be honoring local heroes. Some of you may have seen that in the newspaper, taking nominations for people that had gone above and beyond for our community. So we're excited about doing that. We're also inviting people that were affected by the storm to just kind of bring them out and just bless them on that day. We've got, we originally thought about the idea of just bringing local bands from churches and, different bands in to provide this concert or whatever, but then we thought, well, let's just go big or go home. So we've got the Newsboys. They're an international band that's going to come in, and they're going to put on a show for us. So I don't know if they're going to make it happen or not, but they've got like a spinning drum set, so we're hoping they can get that thing. One of a kind, yeah. So they're full of energy. They're excited about coming and just sharing with our community and blessing our community. Paula, why don't you go ahead and tell them a little bit about the special thing that we're doing for the heroes?
Newsboys sings God's Not Dead from the movie God's Not Dead. 38 #1 hits. They rock it. They will bring it. They're like, hold on, because they know about the tornado. They know what happened in Jefferson City. They are going to put on a show. They've promised us. But when the tornado hit, my husband has a tree service, and he came in, and all he did was take out logs from on the streets. They just loaded his wagon, and he took out these logs. And they're sitting on my farm, and I'm like, it's so sad because they're huge, they're old, and they're just piled up for firewood. And I got an idea, what if we cut cookies out of them and we give them back? Because I've read articles about people, that did wonderful things for me, and I don't even know who they were, and, somebody did this, and I'm like, what a way to give it back, to repurpose those trees. So I talked to Gary Castor, I talked to Rick, and they're like, get a hold of Gary, and he ran with the story. They're making these cookies. Keith Olson, he is cutting them, he is getting them dried. I've got another company that's doing, what they do is this lightning bolt, and they burn it into the wood so that you got this lightning strike that goes through it. Larsine's also got affected. They're putting the plates on it. I have so many people that have come in to make this happen, so it's going to be awesome. And Kirk, I'm like, can I have 30 minutes of the program to do this? And he's like, yes, we can do it. So, yeah, it's going to be awesome.
She makes it sound like I'm in charge. I'm not in charge. But no, we're excited to do this event. And again, it's Saturday, August 17th. The event starts at 5 o'clock. We'll have different things going on, and then we'll have the Newsboys start at 7. So if anybody, you can share on Facebook. RedemptionInsideTheWalls.com is our website. People can get tickets there. We're just wanting to make this event a big one and an annual one, so we're excited about that. And one last point I want to make, Devin Roberson, just to tell you guys how crazy that was, how far he threw. A kid that was a state champion that we did a couple of issues ago in Sports Soccer Magazine threw 156 feet. Devin threw 215 feet, and that is just like crazy out there. That other kid threw it almost out of the arena, and he threw it 50 feet further than that. So that was pretty cool.
That's crazy. You need to give him one of those discs that you're making and see just how far he can throw that thing at the concert. How do you get tickets? Tell us.
RedemptionInsideTheWalls.com.
Okay.
Just go to our website.
All right. I already got mine, so I know. But
Thank you.
I hope that everybody shows up that night. Are there any questions? I think this is cool. When I first heard you were doing this, I was so excited because it was finally another event at the penitentiary, and now it's taking on a whole new meaning with the Stronger After the Storm, which I think is wonderful. So it shows that we don't just let a setback cancel or take an event, off the radar. We're doing it, and we're doing it better than we ever could before. So it's very, very cool. I'm excited to see the Newsboys, so this international group They're awesome. So we're going to do a little line from the Newsboys. Remember, everybody? Okay, all right. The greatness of our God. Come on, everybody. All right. In awesome wonder, he reigns forever. You know the greatness of our God. I'm looking at John. He's like, I already had my part. Carlos. Right?
Very good, yeah.
Do they need anyone to travel with them on the road?
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
I want to just say thank you to all of our emergency personnel just for all the work that you guys did. Thanks for everything that you all did and just helping our community just return back to normal as quickly as possible and keeping everybody safe.
What perfect timing to bring everybody together in faith and say thank you for what you've done. The timing just couldn't have been better. So that's
It
what
is.
we
We need
do.
this for our community. Thank you all for organizing. Well, come on up and let's get a picture for redemption. All right, that is going to be fun, and I promise I will leave the singing to the Newsboys, not to the mayor. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Jeez, okay. I heard that. Okay, so now we have item 8, announcements by the mayor, council, and staff. So we have our 4 standing committees. You can get information about our meetings at jeffersoncitymo.gov. We are also doing our budget meetings. Do you want to announce when the next one is, Councilman Mihaljevic?
That'll be this Thursday at 5:30.
Great, thank you. And then I have a few announcements. I would like to start with bringing, we're going to talk about Citizens Police Academy. So I'd like to invite to the podium up here Lieutenant David Williams to give us a rundown about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. And for our citizens, this is our Citizens Police Academy, and what we've done is we've combined a real good program into 11 weeks where we offer our citizens an in-depth look at what we do at the police department. From the very first day, we do an introduction of staff, the instructors that are going to be there. We give a tour of the building, show you some of the things that you will see in that 11 weeks. It starts on September 19th, and it meets every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., and that goes until December 5th. During that 11 weeks, we actually have patrol activities and demonstrations. We allow the citizens to ride along. They can monitor in communications. It's not a situation where we want to hide anything. We're open. We're always open for any questions that our citizens have, but this is an opportunity to really understand what we're doing when you see police officers on the side of the street, in your neighborhood, what they're doing. This gives an in-depth look at what we are doing for our citizens here in Jefferson City. If you look on our Facebook page, and I know it was shared on the city's main page, but we have a Citizens Police Academy flyer. It explains everything. It has the contact information here for Sergeant Joe Mathern. He's the Community Services Supervisor right now, or you can just call 634-634-6400, and our receptionist will tell you how to go to the website, get the application. You can stop in our lobby, get an application, turn it in. Right now what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep it to about 20 to 24 people. It's hard to get that many people in patrol cars riding around in the city understanding what's going on. So that's where we're trying to keep it at. There is a background process for that. It's open to all Cole County residents. And if you happen to live in the city across the river, that counts for you too, even though it's Callaway County. We want everyone to have the opportunity to come out and learn about the police department.
Thank you, Lieutenant Williams. This is something I did when I was a councilwoman. I would highly recommend it. I know several council members have already gone through the process. If you haven't, then I certainly would recommend it. And any questions from council?
Just a comment. I do want to echo the words that it is an in-depth look at the department, and I would strongly suggest of anyone to sign up for the. When I did it, I believe it was 9 weeks. So maybe I'm an old head at doing this.
Well, yes, sir. It's expanded. It's now 11 weeks. What we found, reading those critiques from the people that have attended, we realized that we were trying to put a lot in 9 weeks.
Right.
And the last couple classes, we've actually done 10 weeks, and we're going to try the 11 weeks this time to try to make sure we get all those questions answered. It's not just that December 5th, we're going to stop answering those questions for citizens, but this is a program that we've developed to help understand.
And it really gives you a behind-the-scene look at what really goes on, and gave me a different perspective as relates to our law enforcement and what they do on a day-to-day basis. So if you have not done this, then please, if you do have the time, please take the time to sign up and go through this Citizens Police Academy. I think it's probably about 12 years ago when I did it. So
you said it, I didn't.
Yeah. So with it,
I left a couple copies.
It was fun.
Absolutely. Great.
I'd
Well,
like to
thank you.
nominate
Yes.
a few people to be tased if you're needing somebody during that night.
I didn't want to say that, but of course, during the process, they learn about all the tools that we carry, one of those being the taser. And yes, we take volunteers to be exposed. Just so you know, sir, a lot of people are pointing at you right now. You're looking at me, but there are a lot of people pointing at you.
Well, and something else that I thought was interesting was watching the dogs, how they are able to detect drugs and different substances.
They have their own night. K9 has their own night because it is not just dog walking around with the officer. It is a lot of training that they go to because it is such a serious thing. They also track. There are apprehension dogs as well. It's a multi-use dog, so it's not just the drug detection. It is a multi-use dog.
Yeah, very, very interesting, the entire thing. So hope that everybody can attend that, and thanks for doing that. And I have a few other announcements. Don't leave. I have a few other announcements. So I'm going to announce, first of all, thank you all for covering while I was out of the country visiting our partnership city of Münchberg, Germany, along with David Williams and his wife Stephanie, and we also had Mr. Brett Roberts and his wife Rhonda, and my mom came with us. So there were 6 of us that decided to take a visit to Münchberg, and it's not your first time to Münchberg. You've gone more than once.
More than once.
And enjoy it so much, and now I know why you keep going back.
It is a wonderful place to visit. It's a good partnership that we have. For those that are not aware, it is located in the Bavaria region of Germany, and it's supposedly similar climate to what we have here in Jefferson City. We have a lot of people who have immigrated from that region to Central Missouri, specifically here in Jefferson City. Old Munichburg is actually supposed to be Old Münchberg, but there were some spelling problems, and so they went with what they could pronounce. Munich, like the city of Munich, so in all actuality, it was supposed to mirror our partner city originally.
Yes, so we have a lot of history directly with Münchberg, and started with Mayor Landwehr when he was mayor, and then Bürgermeister, which is Mayor Thomas Fine over in Münchberg, and now the current mayor, Christian Zuber, has continued this partnership and is very welcoming. We got off the train and there was a Jefferson City flag at the train station, and they flew the American flag at City Hall. We decided to go this year for Wiesenfest, which was the first time we've actually gone for that. Typically we'll go in the fall for Stadfest. So This was great. We got to be in the parade, all of us, all 6 of us were in the parade.
You were at the front of the parade, though.
I was at the
Make sure
front.
everybody understands. I was hiding.
We were all in it, and then afterwards,
Okay.
David couldn't hide if he wanted to over there. But afterwards, they tapped the keg, and it's not like at our Oktoberfest where they just do a little knob. I mean, they really tapped the keg, and he did it with 2 tries, and the beer was flowing, and it's a tradition, and I got to go on the stage and help him watch while he tapped the keg, and yes, that's part of the tradition, just saying. And the bratwurst was incredible. I mean, everything. And they were so wonderful and welcoming. When we got up there on stage and talked about being from Jefferson City, the whole room just cheered. I mean, hundreds of them, and they were so happy to have us there. So it's very cool experience. I would invite everyone next year to go. We're planning the big trip next year.
And that's where she was going with this.
Yes.
We went on a scout mission to try to figure out exactly what the best time for us to bring a group. So we are in a planning stage now. In the next couple of months, we're going to be announcing the fact that we're going to try to take 20 to 24 Jefferson City and Cole County community members to Lynchburg to enjoy that portion of our history. I say our history. I've been here for 20-something years, and so it's a history that the city shares with Lynchburg, and they have told us that they, in fact, will also come here for our bicentennial in 2021. So we want to get a good showing next year for a trip to Lynchburg, and then they're going to come here in 2021.
That's right. We made a formal invite to them to come here, and they've accepted. So we are very excited about that. So start thinking about it, and it is on our own dime. It's not a city-funded event, but it's worth going. It's worth every penny to take this trip. I highly recommend it. And then afterwards, we actually spent a little bit of time in Greece, my heritage, since we were so close. And so Lieutenant Williams and Stephanie came to our hometown of Katerini and got to spend a couple of days.
Ate too much.
And we might have really, really ate too much, but it was so wonderful. And then you went on to Athens, and
Correct.
I think you got off the train, and then the earth shook, and that really happened. And I don't know if it was your fault or if you had anything to do with that, but there was a small earthquake the minute.
My children tell me that
I've
I've seen several events and I should stop now. The tornado, the flood, and now I've seen an earthquake. As we came out of the train station in Athens, they had a 5.4 earthquake as we were leaving the train station. We didn't have a ticket to go back, so we stayed, but my children now tell me that I've only got a couple more natural disasters to go, so.
That's true. And we're not going to blame how much you ate with my family or any of that either. I'm just joking. Totally kidding. So thank you, Lieutenant Williams. And we're deciding if we're going to go. Do you think we'll go again for Wiesenfest or Stadfest? Have we decided?
Part of the planning process, we normally go in September, which is the Stadtfest, or city festival. But we're also looking at May, because one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to get more participation by a younger group to get their kids involved, to where people understand where their heritage came from. It's good for us to go, but we also want to make sure that the next generation of Jeff City people understand and want to be involved. So we're trying to look at May and September as possible dates to go. The Stadtfest is one that they have figured out, because those are the times we've been the last 3 times as a group, but we are looking at May as well.
So give us your input of when you all would like to go, and we'll get the planning and get that started now. Thank you, Lieutenant Williams. Let's see here. And then I have a couple more announcements. I wanted to announce that we have with us some visitors from the News Tribune tonight. Not visitors, but our reporters. So I wanted to bring Nicole Roberts to the podium along with Denisha, so that you could make a quick announcement. And we know that you're always here to cover us, Nicole, or Ms. Roberts. You do a wonderful job, and you have someone with you we wanted you to introduce this evening.
Yeah, definitely. So this is Denisha Hoke. She'll be covering the city government here probably in a couple of months or so.
Next month or so.
So what we're going to be doing is I will slowly be transitioning out of the position, and will be starting my new position as community engagement editor with the News Tribune. And once I am fully in that position, Denisha will take over. So you guys will have to now go to her.
Great. Well, congratulations, Nicole, on your new position. We're just really glad you're still going to be here covering local news, which is great. And we welcome Denisha. Do you want to tell us where you're from?
Sure. Hi, I'm Denisha. I'm from St. Louis originally, and I have personal ties to Mayor Turgeon, a Missouri State graduate with Nicole as well. So just been in Jefferson City about a year now almost, and happy to be in the city government.
Great. Well, we look forward to working with you and appreciate it, and wanted to welcome you here to City Hall. So thank you both. All right. Do we have any other announcements? Councilwoman Wiseman?
I just wanted to remind everybody that on the 14th we have our administration committee meeting in the morning.
Thank you. Any other announcements by council? Okay. Item B, the Missouri 2021 Bicentennial Moment. would like to mention that Missouri will celebrate 200 years of statehood on this date of 2021. What is that date? It's August...
30th.
No. Okay. Happy birthday, Carlos. August 10th. So today's the 5th, so I'm throwing that out there, that on August 10th, it's going to be our 198th birthday. But mentioning that August 10th of 2021 is going to be our 200th. So that's something to keep in mind, that's what we're going to be celebrating here in a couple of years, and we will certainly be commemorating that the entire year of 2021. Item 9, Lincoln University Student Representative Update, Ms. Carolyn Winjaro.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council as a whole. I apologize that my voice is hoarse. Singing is just taking a toll on my throat. However, just a few announcements. On this coming Saturday, August the 10th, we are going to be having casino night, and this is an opportunity for the City of Jefferson residents and citizens to come out and support the Blue Tigers athletics team, so the basketball, football, track and field, softball, bowling, I think that's all of them. And so you just come out and support the Blue Tigers. You know, as I always say, Lincoln University is a Jefferson City university, and so we try as much as we can to support each and every event. If you're able to come out and show the love and support. And then also on the 10th is Freshman Moving Day, so we are going to be having incoming freshmen on campus on that day. And so I would like to extend an invitation, because I believe that when they see city officials show up, it kind of gives them an idea of what it takes to sit in you guys' seats and to understand what you guys do. And so I would like to invite all of you guys on the 10th, before you show up to casino night, just stop by and say hi, wave, something. And then on the 19th, school officially begins, and we look forward to having a great semester. We look forward to having a great school year. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Winjaro. Any questions for her tonight? And I will look forward to seeing everyone at Casino Night this Saturday the 10th. And there were very few tickets left. Mr. Graham, do you think there's still some left?
I believe you told me this morning that they were sold out, so.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it's good, but.
Okay, thank you. So this Saturday, there's 3 Saturdays in a row. This Saturday is Casino Night for Lincoln. The next Saturday, the 17th, is Redemption Inside the Walls at the Fairgrounds. And then the next Saturday, the 24th, is Jefferson City PD versus Fire Department guns and team guns and team hoses. So I'm looking at you two sitting back there. We have 2 teams that are going to be playing hockey. So I get to drop the first puck. If you haven't already decided if you're team guns or team hoses, there's still time to buy tickets. So just saying, that should be a fun night to benefit Safety Net. So we're looking forward to that as well. Item 10, presentations from the gallery on specific resolutions. We have none signed up this evening on that. Item 11, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Item 12, bills introduced 2019-36.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri adopting a budget and personnel classification plan for the city for the period of November 1, 2019 to October 31, 2020, and appropriating money in the city treasury to pay the cost of operating the city government during that period in accordance with the budget.
Ms. Miller?
Mayor, the 2019-2020 operating budget has been recommended and approved by the mayor. The general fund is projected to be $32,906,901, with additional funding from other funds and for capital projects, bringing the total City of Jefferson budget for FY 2020 to $65,147,789.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Okay, and as we mentioned, we have a budget meeting on Thursday. Item B, 2019-37.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri providing for the levy of city taxes and establishing the rate of taxation for the City of Jefferson, Missouri for the year 2019.
Ms. Miller?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The proposed tax rate has not changed from last year. The general fund is proposed at 46 cents and the fireman's retirement at .0961 cents for a total of 55.61.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. 2019-38.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri regarding dangerous buildings as nuisances and their vacation, demolition, or repair and pertaining to insurance proceeds from damage or loss to buildings or structures.
Mr. Molman.
Thank you. This ordinance changes the city's dangerous building code. Currently, the city's dangerous building code, which is to deal with the most problematic buildings in the city that are a danger to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. That process to address those buildings is currently intertwined with the nuisance process. And in processing dangerous buildings over the past year or so, legal staff has found that that intertwining of the dangerous building process and the nuisance process is problematic for various reasons. State law really contemplates that the dangerous building process be a separate process apart from the nuisance process. So this code does that separation that we think is useful and necessary to a more efficient administration of our dangerous building code. I don't think it would be a shock to anyone that for us to say that in the next year or so we expect an uptick in dangerous buildings. And while we hope that most of those dangerous building situations, perpetuated by the tornado and perhaps even the flood, are resolved on a private basis, we want to be able to have the most efficient, effective, and fair processes available to city staff to make sure that those processes are being dealt with appropriately and in a manner that is consistent with state law and defensible under state law. And so I think the outside person looking at the dangerous building process will not see a lot of difference in how those processes are presented to the outside public, but this code gives city staff more clear direction on how to operate the process, and then to render a fair decision under the dangerous building code. I'd be happy to answer any questions specifically on anything related to the code, but essentially the most important thing is separating the dangerous building process from the nuisance process. I think that's real advantageous to the city's administration of these properties under state law.
Thank you. Councilor Molman, is there any questions? Okay. 2019-39.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to modify an agreement with the Jefferson City Firefighters Local 671, commonly known as the Work Agreement.
Chief Schofield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The council will recall that we discussed earlier later in the spring of this year, transitioning to a different work cycle, it's a different schedule. And during that time, we received initial approval from the council, and we've started working on some of the details of implementation. And so we're coming back tonight with a couple things. One, we have a definitive date, which was contemplated in the schedule in terms of how we would implement and exactly when it would work with our schedule to take the current shift and modify it so that it meets the 4896 schedule. And we also looked at other implementation issues with the FLSA work cycle that would be required. So to make sure that it is cost neutral, which was our primary concern in our initial commitment to the city, we wanted to make a couple other changes that are called out specifically in the work agreement. The first one is that we would transition from a 27-day to a 24-day cycle, FLSA work cycle. And then the second one is the number of hours of sleep exclusion to keep in a ratio that's consistent with what we do now. This is important so that there isn't additional hours of overtime achieved with the same number of hours worked. So that would require us to make that change to 37 3/4 hours. So that's what we have before you tonight in this agreement, this updated agreement that modifies the work agreement with Local 671. They are here as well to answer any questions you might have, but we work together to produce something that would be consistent with what we originally committed to and be budget neutral. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for Chief or for Local 671? Councilor Mollman?
Just from a procedural process, you should note that this bill does repeal Ordinance 911 in its entirety. That was the original work agreement ordinance. So this ordinance would repeal that ordinance, and the agreement that is attached to this ordinance contemplates both the original changes that were in 911 and the additional ones that the chief just outlined.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate y'all being here too. Thank you. 2019-40.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending Chapter 32, Streets and Sidewalks, revising the duties and responsibilities of property owners regarding sidewalks.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. As clerk indicated, this ordinance deals with Chapter 32, and this one pertains mainly to sidewalks, but basically it changes the duty to repair from 1.5 inch offset to 1/4 inch, which matches federal guidelines for the ADA. And so that's one of the major changes. There's also clarifies when you're doing a repair, it has to match the concrete around it if it had a special texture like downtown or something like that. So that clarifies that. And then also the need to upgrade curb ramps if you're having construction around those. And we've been handling that through a right-of-way process, but this gets it codified, so it's very clear.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? All right, thanks. 2019-41.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a second amendment to the intergovernmental cooperation agreement by and between the City of Jefferson City, Missouri and Stone Ridge Transportation Development District.
Mr. Mollman?
Thank you. This bill amends the intergovernmental cooperation agreement between the City of Jefferson and the Stone Ridge TDD. The Stone Ridge TDD was formed in 2007 to perform transportation improvements and related improvements to the area that is south of Missouri Boulevard between 179 and Stadium, essentially north of Edgewood. That's a general area. The improvements were constructed. This bill amends the cooperation agreement to reflect the projects that were actually built as part of the Transportation Development District project. The projects were approved by the property owners consistent with the TDD Act back in 2013. This is essentially catching up the paperwork to the projects that were built previously. I believe that representative from the TDD, Ms. Kristen Chipkowski from the law firm of Posanelli, is here to answer any questions specifically that the council may have about the things that the TDD are looking to accomplish. So either myself or Ms. Chipkowski would be available.
All right. Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mollman or Ms. Chipkowski? Okay. Thank you, and thank you for being here at our meeting this evening as well. Thank you. 2019-42.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri amending Chapter 19 Motor Vehicles and Traffic by modifying parking restrictions on West Main Street east of Jordan Street.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. This is basically a cleanup ordinance in our parking restrictions. It was found that on Main Street that there's a parking restriction in the code of 362 feet, and in the field it measures approximately 70 feet. So it just modifies that to reflect what's actually in the field today.
Okay, any questions? All right. 2019-43.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri amending Chapter 19 Motor Vehicles and Traffic by modifying Jefferson City Public School related information to coincide with changes at Jefferson City Public School.
Mr. Marash?
Thank you. As the clerk indicated, this basically all centers around Jefferson City Public Schools, but it basically adds or updates the names of the schools that are referenced in the code. It also reflects changes in the time the school's in session, and
removes the parking or any restrictions on Lewis and Clark Drive that's being vacated later tonight.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, 2019-44.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Meyer Electric Company Incorporated in the amount of $79,512 for the light replacement tornado damage project.
Mr. Marash.
Thank you. The title explained it pretty well, but a contract with Meyer Electric, and what's going to happen is they're going to go out and repair city-owned street lights that we typically maintain, whether it be lighting or bulbs or fixtures, and then also a crosswalk, a lighted crosswalk that was at Employment Security Building near there. And the contract's expected to last for about the next 5 months, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Item 13, bills pending, 2019-33.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri vacating and discontinuing a portion of the Lewis and Clark Drive right-of-way.
Mr. Marash.
Thank you. Again, as I referenced a while ago, this is Lewis and Clark Drive out on the east end off Eastland. This ordinance would vacate that street running up onto the school property. It was agreed to by the school and the city back in our agreement from last January when the city agreed to construct a new roadway by the new high school. And this was part of that agreement. And it indicated as of July 1, the city would be vacating the street. So we're following up with that agreement.
Any questions or deliberation? Roll call, please.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber. Ward. Wiseman.
Bill passes. 2019-34.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with HTR Incorporated in the amount of $79,115 for the Missouri Riverbank Stabilization Project.
Mr. Marash.
Thank you again. Again, an engineering contract with HDR, as the clerk indicated. Basically, we have an erosion issue on the bank of the Missouri River above one of our large sanitary sewer mains. Obviously, we need some repair to that and maybe some of the wing dikes out into the river, so this contract will help us get started with deciding what project to tackle there.
Thank you. Any questions or deliberation? Councilman Mahalovich.
Was there any consideration to ask the Corps to fix the wing dike?
Certainly, we've already had conference calls with them about this. There's some fisheries and wildlife issues there, and just exactly why the wing dike looks like it does now, and so certainly they indicated it would be a city responsibility to fix.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber. Ward. Wiseman. Fitzwater.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item C, 2019-35.
Amending the FY 2018-2019 budget by reclassifying one Parks Maintenance Crew Leader position to a Program Manager position within the Parks and Recreation Department.
Mr. Greffrath.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Basically, like Ms. Donaldson said, this would change a current vacant position from a crew leader to a program manager. This would enable us to recruit and emphasize new memberships at the link and supervise the front desk. So we're very excited about this.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber. Ward. Wiseman. Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 14, nothing on the informal calendar. Item 15, resolutions, RS 2019-4.
A resolution of the City of Jefferson, Missouri adopting the 5-year consolidated plan and Year 1 action plan for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Mrs. Abbott.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I just wanted to do a brief presentation on our 2019 to 2023 Consolidated Action Plan and Annual Action Plan, just so everyone is familiar with the process that we undertook for this. So I am here tonight to present the plan for your consideration and adoption. The city annually receives federal funding from the U.S. Housing and Urban Development, which is known as HUD, for the Community Development Block Grant Program. As a result, we must prepare a 5-year strategic plan, which we identify as the consolidated plan. The 2019 to 2023 consolidated plan serves as a framework to identify housing and community development priorities that align and focus funding from the community from the CDBG program. Overall, the program goals are to provide the decent housing, create a suitable living environment, and expand economic opportunities. So the funding must meet national objective requirements, which is primarily 51% low to moderate income, eliminate the slum and blight, urgent threat to health and safety, with 70% of the funds must be obligated and provided to the low to moderate income category. So the citizen participation, the process for the plan started back in July of last year, in 2018, with a survey, and we conducted several public meetings and stakeholder meetings in August, as well as holding a public hearing in September, and I actually did present this plan to this council in November of last year. HUD actually asks that we hold the plan until we get our actual allocation from them, which we did receive on April 15 of 2019. So after we got our allocation notification, we put out a public notice for a public meeting in May 9th, 2019. Then on May 15th of 2019, we received notice from Missouri Department of Education and, Missouri Department of Economic and Development, to transfer the Neighborhood Stabilization Program income funds of approximately $47,000 to the city's CDBG entitlement program. So that required us to start the process over to identify those funds within the consolidated plan, and we went back out for another public meeting with comments accepted through July 19th. We actually also presented it to the Public Works and Planning Committee as well in July. So here I am tonight presenting the plan overall to this council for consideration for adoption, and if it is adopted, we would submit the plan to HUD by August 16th. That is a hard date. Okay, so what are we going to be funding with the Community Development Block Grant Funds? We are going to be funding down payment assistance of up to $5,000 to low to moderate income households. We also have the minor home repair. Those are for the single-family homeowners within the boundaries of Jefferson City, as long as they meet the low to moderate income eligibility. The public infrastructure, we typically do sidewalk improvement projects within census tracts that are eligible, which is ultimately located within the quote-unquote old town area. And then there's public services. A couple of years ago, we funded a couple projects with local organizations such as Central Missouri Community Action Agency, where they did daycare assistance, paying for the daycare or the fee to hold a spot in order for the families to get back to work or find work, and it was a really successful program. So those are the activities that we will be funding in the years between 2019 and 2023. So quickly, I'm going to discuss the 2019 annual action plan. So what are we actually funding this year, even though it's August? So up there on the screen, I have the budget for 2019, which includes down payment assistance. This year we substantially increased the allocation for this program. We typically only do about 5 households, but this year we changed it to 20.
And I guess I could say that we were blessed to have the ability to amend the consolidated plan after the tornado had struck. And so we actually increased the number of households to be eligible, or funding for eligibility for this category, and we actually did assist a couple households that were directly impacted by the tornado with a down payment assistance. In addition, we're funding the minor home repair for 9 households. Between the down payment and the minor home repair, we will be allocating the neighborhood stabilization program income funds to those 2 categories, as indicated on the screen there. Also, infrastructure improvements such as the sidewalk improvements, we have a couple of projects in queue that we're looking to fund, such as on East Miller Street and Chestnut Street, improving the sidewalks that lead up to the transfer station at the bus site. And then demolition. This is a voluntary demolition program. We typically team up with non-for-profits such as River City Habitat for Humanity to demolish a structure. And River City Habitat does reconstruct single-family housing that would be sold to income-eligible households as well. So we have an allocation there to complete 2 to 3 building demolitions, and that includes the asbestos inspection and mitigation as well. And then finally, there's the administration, which is capped at 20%. So all in total, we have nearly $340,000 of community development block grant funds and neighborhood stabilization program funds for the 2019 program year. And with that, the plan is available. Hard copies are available with the city clerk, also at the Missouri River Regional Library and the Housing Authority, and is obviously online as well. So I would be happy to answer any questions about this plan that is before you tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Abbott. Are there any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber. Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-5.
A resolution of official intent of the Council of the City of Jefferson, Missouri for the issuance of the city's taxable industrial development revenue bonds in a principal amount of approximately $5 million to finance a project for the benefit of Modern Litho Print Company and authorizing certain actions related hereto.
Mr. Molman?
Thank you. This resolution is essentially a kickoff resolution to begin the process of the issuance of industrial development revenue bonds related to a project expansion at the Modern Litho facility. Industrial development revenue bonds are part of the Chapter 100 regime for financing industrial improvements. Essentially, the facilities that are covered by the bonds are conveyed to the city to hold as public property. That effectuates tax exempt status. Then that property is leased back to the private company, and in exchange for that lease, the company will make payments to the city, and then those payments to the city are used to pay bonds. And the bonds are issued on the basis of being payable only out of those lease payments. So risk to the city is minimal. Because the bonds only require that the bond payments are made out of those lease revenues. And essentially this allows industrial users within the city to do expansions on a tax exempt basis, usually partially tax exempt basis, and allows for expansion of industrial projects with the goals of expanding industrial output, increasing jobs, increasing the tax base for future years once the bonds are paid off. Sean Sappingfield from the Chamber of Commerce is here to answer any questions that the council may have on the modern litho projects or any details. Sean.
Welcome, Sean.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to, as Ryan had indicated, just coming here tonight to support, provide a little information on Modern Litho's project, and answer any questions that the council may have. In the spring, February of this year, the Chamber began working with the ownership of Modern Litho. They had come to us and identified a potential expansion, a $5 million expansion. $4 million of that 5 will be is for a press, an 8-color Heidelberg press that they will install in their office, their facility on Alagoa Road. That will provide 25 jobs. They are committed to 25 jobs, and basically what we provided to them, offered to them, which is on the resolution tonight, is property tax abatement. That abatement would be for a 7-year period at a 50% level on personal property only. And again, this is to support obviously the project and their commitment of 25 jobs. I will also add that this project is about the 4th since I've been with the Chamber in 2007, the 4th expansion project. So obviously they're growing and adding jobs at their facility, and not only here, but they have purchased operations in Kansas City and St. Louis. So this time around when we were working with them, there was the possibility of potentially taking that project, that equipment to St. Louis to do that work, but they wanted to be committed to the community, and so that's why they came to us, the Chamber, asking for incentive support.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Sappenfield. Any further questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-6.
A resolution authorizing preliminary actions relating to the offering for sale of a series of special obligation improvement bonds to pay the cost of capital improvements to the city's park system.
Mr. Molman.
Thank you. This resolution, similar to the last resolution, is a kickoff resolution that gives authority to Piper Jaffray as the city's municipal financial advisor and to Gilmore and Bell as the city's bond counsel to begin work toward the issuance of special obligation improvement bonds related to the capital improvements to the parks, to the park system. Apologize for that. Essentially, this allows these professionals to begin work on the paperwork to then bring to the city council at a future date a ordinance to authorize sale of the bonds. The bonds would be contemplated to be paid out of the city's park sales tax and would require approximately $500,000 annually for debt service to pay off the bonds. Now, this is not a bond that is risk-free. If for whatever reason the park sales tax were not sufficient to pay the bonds in any given year, the city generally would be obligated to pay the bond to make up the difference, any difference between the what's available under the capital improvements, or sorry, the park sales tax, and whatever the leftover bond payment. Now, this is a scale back from what was originally contemplated, I believe, last year when the city authorized a reimbursement resolution which allowed the Parks Commission to begin work on certain components of capital improvements to the park system and would allow Parks Commission to reimburse themselves out of future bond proceeds from the sale of potential bonds. What we were talking about at that point in time was closer to an $11 million sale of bonds. This is scaled back to a range of $7 to $8 million with a much lower annual debt service payment of $500,000. And so I believe that the fiscal impact is much more conservative than what was initially contemplated when we did the reimbursement resolution last year. Mr. Todd Goffey from Piper Jaffray has joined us this evening. He will be able to answer any specific questions on the specific structure of the bond. We're still working on a time frame, but generally I think what we are looking at is probably late September to early October to bring back to the City Council the bond, an ordinance authorizing issuance of the bonds, with that going both through the Parks Commission and then also the Finance Committee before it ever came to the council. So I or myself or Mr. Goffey will be available to answer any questions that the council may have right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mallman. And at this time, we could invite Mr. Todd Goffey to the podium just in case council has any questions. I know we also have with us the chairman of the Parks Commission. We have Mr. Chris Leichel here. So, Chris, if you would want to come forward as well, and appreciate you both being here. And then we have Aaron Greffrath here on behalf of Parks as well from Parks staff. So with that, we welcome everyone and would ask if council has any questions. Councilman Prather?
Whose job would it be to make sure this is financially feasible?
So Todd might be able to dig a little deeper on that, but it's essentially the job of city staff, headed up by Finance Director and myself, with the assistance of the city's municipal financial advisor, to make sure that the plan to pay back the bond is something that is reasonable and doable in the timeframes that the bond would exist. Todd?
I think that's a good explanation, and basically we'll be working through the bond rating agency as well to assign a bond rating. So part of that process will involve financial feasibility and looking at the financial plan to make sure that it makes sense.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilman Hensley?
Thank you. In the fiscal information paragraph on the resolution summary, the last line says, if Parks funds were for some reason insufficient to pay annual debt service, the city would be required to appropriate separate city funds to cover debt service. Is there a provision or some method that exists that would allow the city to recover those funds in future fiscal years from the Parks Fund?
So, in short, no, but that does not mean that that is not possible. So I don't think the bond holders would care where the money is coming from, and they don't really care about our internal accounting and finances. However, so this is using the parks sales tax under Chapter 644 of the state statutes, and that state statute says that those funds must be appropriated by the city council, by the governing body of the city. So the city council has direct appropriation authority over those parks sales tax. And so it can dictate how that money is allocated. And so for whatever reason, if the park sales tax portion that is dedicated for debt service isn't enough to cover the bond payment for that year, you could use that appropriation authority to then force the park system to reduce operations or anything else that it uses that park sales tax to pay for, and say, okay, you got to cut back on your operations to meet this debt service. If that's still not enough, I believe that the city council could then use its appropriating authority under Chapter 644 to also pay back the city from future sales tax. That means of appropriating money, parks sales tax funds is essentially unlimited. It's within the plenary powers of the city council to dictate how that is spent, as long as it's spent on parks.
Thank you.
Any further, Councilman Graham?
Yes, Mr. Mulman, do you know how much the half-cent sales tax that the Parks and Rec receive on a yearly basis, how much they receive now?
I'm going to defer to Margie a little.
It is in your budget book, but in round numbers, it's a little over $5 million a year.
So they're collecting about close to $5 million a year?
Yes.
And we're looking at floating this bond for how many years?
20 years.
And if we get a good rating, we're talking about how much a year, average?
Approximately $500,000 annually.
$500,000 annually, and they're collecting $5 million a year?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councilman Hussey?
But just to follow up, Margie, what's the total annual revenue within the Parks Department budget on an annual basis?
In round numbers, I think the FY20 proposed budget is about $8.7 million.
So about 3.7 million or so is generated through activities, registration fees, camps, all of these things. And so I get that the $500,000's coming out of the half-cent sales tax, but I don't want to diminish that Parks is a larger department than just the $5 million.
Oh, absolutely agree with that, yeah.
Any further questions?
Well, and I would just add that Parks has the ability to actually increase their revenue because they do offer programs and services, and so increased fees if necessary, or all of those things. Unlike us, we're kind of limited in what we have. So I'm sure that the Parks Department and the Commission will take that into consideration to make sure that $500,000 is met on an annual basis.
Thank you. Good discussion. I know, Mr. Mulman, you mentioned that that this will be discussed at upcoming Finance Committee meetings and upcoming Parks Commission meetings. So that gives the opportunity for more detail as it moves forward in the planning process, and that we'll look forward to hearing those updates at those committee meetings, and then also seeing what this would look like for the next 20 years, what Parks would be working on, and what the outcome of this would be for the next 20 years that this would be.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, thank you very much. Certainly looking forward to continuing the work that's going on. A lot of work's gone into it already. We look forward to working hard and putting these funds to good use to improve our parks and make those much better for our citizens, for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Any further? Councilman Fitzwater?
I was just going to respond to Councilman Hussey's last comment. I mean, I agree that's an option, but when we went through that thick proposal, when we were looking at all the options, it's the reason we went this way is because the recommendation of their consultants was that they not increase the fees on their services. So, yeah, I don't think we ought to, even though that's an option, it was not a preferred option, and that's why we're looking at this proposal.
And I guess I would just add, my point was, in future years, if revenue needs to increase, they have the ability to do so to make sure that $500,000 is met however they need to get there. I was expressing my confidence in the Parks Department to be good financial stewards here.
Any further questions or comments? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mahalovich?
Aye.
Prather?
Aye.
Schreiber? Ward? Wiseman?
Aye.
Fitzwater?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Hensley?
Aye.
Hussey?
Aye.
Kimna?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 16, presentations from the gallery on other topics. We have Mr. Leonard Steinman signed up for 3 minutes to present on any topic.
Leonard Steinman, 2217 West Edgewood, Jefferson City.
Welcome.
I'm going to thank you, all the staff, all the councilmen, the mayor, all the other groups This is not the first tornado I've ever been in my lifetime. You've done such a fantastic job, but I do have one complaint. Our utility companies, called Mediacom, they cannot cut their cables down. They leave them on the ground. We got children getting ready to go to school at Thorpe Gordon. There's 19 cables sitting on the ground. Somebody's going to get hurt with them. You can't even mow the grass. It's not my object to cut them down. It's not my object to line them up. But let's get it cleaned up, please. We clean up the grass, we clean up the houses, we clean up everything else, but our utility companies are very lax when it comes to our cable companies. It's all over the city that way. If you pay attention to the poles, they roll up the cables. They're there. The children grab a hold of them. They don't know if they're alive or not. And we need to put an effort to these cable companies that if they want to have cable and charge a big premium, let's take care of it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. It was very, very, very well accomplished. Yes, it's been 2 months. I've seen more things done in 2 months that have been done that I've seen in other places that took 10 years. So thank you for what you have done.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Steinman.
Madam Mayor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Tallman.
I'd like to just address something. So prior to 2008, this was something that the city could vigorously pursue and force the cable companies to essentially talk to the city. General Assembly passed regulations in 2008 that take away franchising authority away from cities and place it at the PSC level. This used to be something that we could address. After 2008, cities aren't able to really do too much to the cable companies and to, help them clean up their facilities and do a whole lot for the city. The state really took municipalities out of that business. And so while I certainly sympathize with Mr. Steinman and agree with him on this particular subject, this is not something that is really, it's very difficult for cities to address the things that Mr. Steinman is bringing up tonight. And so I would suggest to Mr. Steinman and to other citizens in the community that have similar concerns is to talk to your General Assembly, state representatives, and senators about this topic.
I have one, since he brought this up, I got one more deal here. As Leonard Steinman, a citizen of the city of Jefferson and property owner, the first child that I see get injured by it, I'm suing the council and the mayor and the attorney myself without having to go through the city council, the council at the government, because it's a hazard. It's no different than that building over there on Madison Street that's been there for over a year, falling apart. Everybody laughs at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steinman. All right, and I'll ask Mr. Kroll to send a letter mentioning that to Mediacom about that specific area. Thank you. Item 2, Mr. Paul Faulkner. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you all. Appreciate you having me. Thank you, members of the council, the mayor. I live at 1508 St. Mary's Boulevard here in Jefferson City. Steve, we've spoke before, ain't we? I'm trying to find out, I spoke with the mayor August 1st of this year at 09:15 hour and asked questions about some problems I was having with Jefferson City Police Department. And I said, who's in charge? Nobody seems to know. If you're having a problem with the police, who do you talk to? Where do you complain? The complaint that I filed with the police department, they gave it to one of the investigators, one of the people in the complaint. Now, I ain't a real bright man, but I'd say that ain't quite kosher to investigate yourself. So who is in charge of the police department? I'm asking a question. I don't know if I can get an answer. Are they a separate entity from the city? They can do as they please?
The chief of police oversees the police department, and then I have general supervision over the departments, most of them.
Okay. So who can fire him? Just a curiosity question.
It would take an action of the mayor and city council. There's a little more to it than that, but I mean, that's essentially what it takes. But if you have a specific concern and that's been expressed to the police, we can take another look at that. But it's my understanding that your concern has been addressed, and from what I know of it, I tend to concur with what the police recommendations and outcome was from that. We can certainly talk.
I heard nothing about it, and then we just went through the same thing that I discussed with you on August 1st.
Mm-hmm.
They throw trash in my front yard. It ain't my trash, but last time I moved a tenant's trash, you throw me in jail. So I call and say, well, who's going to come get it? Because if I touch it, I'll go back to the pokey. Nobody can answer that, and the police won't come take a report. They refuse to come out and take a report.
Yeah. I don't know the specifics of that. We certainly can meet after this meeting if you want and touch bases, and I'm sure somebody that has knowledge about the incident can
Yeah,
meet as well.
I really would like to know, because if I come around to y'all's house and throw trash bags in your yard full of stinking trash, I imagine I'll go to the pokey.
Well, I think your situation, I know this isn't the place to really debate it, but just so people know, I think your situation was a little bit different because you had a tenant involved, is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So that has some differences in some of the new issues, but we can talk about that afterwards, sure. Yeah, if you're able to stick around a little bit, that'll be fine.
You betcha.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Am I in fourth ward? You're second.
Your second ward,
Thank you, sir.
Rick and Laura.
Thank you. Miss Ward, okay. Second ward, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, sir.
All right, item 17, any council and staff discussion of presentation topics?
I do have one question. It wasn't discussed earlier, and maybe Mr. Marash can answer this. I know I've received some telephone calls, and I believe I forwarded them on to Steve Crowell in regards to traffic on off of Cavalier Drive, the new high school. When the new high school opens up, are we going to have staff out there looking at the traffic to possibly later on do something? I know school is coming up in a couple of weeks, and that has been a concern for a lot of residents over there, so I'm bringing it up.
And you're specifically meaning at Edgewood or just back at the neighborhood?
Creek Trail, Edgewood, yes.
Yeah.
And I think you probably received some of those.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we actually have it on Thursday morning's Public Works and Planning Committee meeting to kind of discuss what the final plan would be there for the future and go from there.
Okay. I just wanted to put it out there.
Yes, sir.
On record, so that will be a discussion on this Thursday?
Yeah, this Thursday morning.
Okay, thank you. I will be there.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, so item 18, new business. I'll ask Ms. Donaldson to read the resolution to go into closed session.
Pursuant to Section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri, the chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss the following: leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body where public knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration therefore, and legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Prather?
Aye.
Schreiber? Ward? Wiseman?
Aye.
Fitzwater?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Hensley?
Aye.
Hussey?
Aye.
Kimna?
Aye.
Mahalovich?
Aye.
Okay, we are in closed session in this room, so we'll just go ahead and begin that, and then, all right, thank you all.